Jefferson Robbins with NCWLIFE. Rob Jammerman has been the Public Works Director for the City of Wenatchee for about 6 years. He's decided it's time to move on to other constructive things with his life. He joins us now. Rob, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You started with Public Works in the field of Public Works. You must have been pretty young at the time. Where'd you get your first job?
Yeah, so I came out of Central Washington University in 1987. It was a construction management graduate, thought I was going to go into the construction field, but at the time I had been working summers for the City of Ellensburg Public Works Department and landed with the City of Kirkland Public Works Department, and just fell in love with the field of public works. And so started there at the age of 23 and had a lot of great mentors in my life there that saw things in me that I didn't see myself. And so spent 30 years there at the City of Kirkland in Public Works, managing various divisions, but ultimately was in charge of all of the development review, so engineering development review, as well as surface water and solid waste at the City of Kirkland.
So you mentioned a bunch of different categories there, but they all fall under Public Works. Can you define Public Works for me broadly? What does it mean for people who aren't in the field?
Yeah, it's interesting. My wife and I were just talking the other night about how a lot of people don't know what Public Works is. And so Public Works is really all of the facilities and services that the city residents use on a daily basis. So we think about transportation, the drinking water, the sanitary sewer, but it also includes solid waste, our fleet management, all the equipment to provide for the police departments as well as all the public works crews. And so the way I like to describe it is there are literally thousands of things that occur every day that we take for granted that Public Works is supplying to or providing to the city residents. And it's what really keeps the city going on a daily basis.
If you drive on it, walk on it, drink it, flush it, it's a Public Works project.
Exactly, yeah.
Can you tell me some of the differences in the challenges between working in your job in Kirkland, a fairly large suburban city, versus Wenatchee, a growing city, but still kind of out here, kind of rural?
Yeah, a lot of similarities, and in some ways, it's interesting. Kirkland's hovering around 100,000 in population now, and Wenatchee's around 35. But Wenatchee has a lot of, even though they're a smaller city in a rural area, they have a lot of big city type of issues. So, as an example, the City of Wenatchee staff is responsible for supplying all the water to the whole valley. So we have 3 entities that own that, but they're the suppliers of water. In Kirkland, they just bought their water from the City of Seattle. It still was a large undertaking for them, but that's an example of sort of a big city issue with Wenatchee. Of course, we have our own wastewater treatment plant here that we're responsible for. Kirkland didn't have that. So again, you've got a large population in a large city, but in Wenatchee, maybe a smaller population, but the same types of major services. I would say the biggest difference between the two is just transportation. We do have our transportation challenges here with levels of service for getting people throughout the city and the valley, but over there, just the density, it is, as we know, during that AM peak period and the PM peak period, moving people throughout the city, and whether it be by bus or cars, is super challenging. And so that's probably the biggest difference between the two.
When you came on to the City of Wenatchee, you were hired as, I believe, Utilities Director. And then you had a chance to move into the full Public Works Directorship when your predecessor moved on. Were there lots of projects on the plate when you took this job? And do you feel like you've been able to see a good percentage of those through to some kind of completion?
Yeah, that's a good question. Public Works never really, the projects never really finish. We're just always in a continual kind of a mode of either repairing things or building new things. And so, over the last 6 years, we've completed a lot of utility projects. We've got a major project being completed down at our treatment plant. But every day there's something new. Just an hour ago, I was on a call with my Deputy Director, Jessica Shaw, about a failed storm line on 5th Street that we didn't know about. We just learned about it this week. And so as we were chatting about it, we were like, how do we fix this? We need to fix it right away. How much is it going to cost? And so that's just sort of a typical day in the life of a public works director and staff, is that we have this city here, this beautiful city that was built around in the late 1800s when it was booming. And so if you think about that, all the infrastructure that was built during that time is about 100 years old, or over 100 years old. So we have what referred to as aging infrastructure. And so even though people might think, oh, things look good around here, there's a lot of things below the street level that is old and needs to be repaired. And so that's, I guess, a long way of saying that's sort of our daily project, delivery. The things we're working on is repairing that old infrastructure. The other thing, of course, going on, and we can get more into detail about this, was the landing of the infra grant for the Confluence Parkway. Major project, not a typical project that a city the size of Wenatchee, or really any city in the state of Washington, would take on. And so that has been, in the last 3 years, sort of our main focus of trying to get that off the ground.
North Wenatchee is going to look a bit different, but the hope is that it'll provide better ease of transportation, more attractive corridors for that whole section of the city.
That's correct. Yeah, we're currently moving ahead to deliver that. I think that when everything is said and done, by the time we build the bridge across the Wenatchee River, we'll be hovering around $200 million. And so we have about $185 million, secured, and we're continuing to seek additional funding. But we know that bridge across the Wenatchee River and providing an alternate means just for day-to-day traffic, but also in the emergencies that can occur here with wildfires. It's a very important project, and it's one that was at the top of the list for Mayor Kuntz, and it's at the top of the list for Mayor Poyer to get those completed.
And a stem of that, or related to that, is the McKittrick project, which is going to allow underpass traffic below the BNSF railways between the riverfront and the west side of town.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, that's in what we call our South Confluence Parkway, so that will be delivered in phase 1. And if you drive out there today, you can see that we've completed part of it off of Wenatchee Avenue. It'll go underneath the railroad, and then we already own the right-of-way to what would be the south of the Diamond Foundry. So that right-of-way is already there, and so that road will go over and connect over to Miller and Hawley.
It is going to look a lot different.
It is, yeah.
Are you sad or nostalgic or wistful that you won't actually be in the position you're in to see all that completed? But you're still going to be a local guy. You'll see it, but it won't necessarily be the same experience.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely. This type of project it's a once-in-a-career type project, but really I look to our staff, Jake Lewing, our city engineer, and he's really carrying this ball forward. I'm super excited and proud of him and what he's doing with that project. And so even though I'm going to be leaving, the people that are here are going to finish that, and they're fairly young in their career, and it's going to be a really, I think, a great thing for them to be part of. And just like from an engineer's perspective, the city engineer and the other teams, to be in a small city like Wenatchee, but to have a project of that magnitude, it's like I said, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. So there's a lot of excitement amongst the staff to deliver that.
Eastmont Volleyball, predictions for the next season. This is your new thing after retirement, or alongside your current job. You joined Eastmont as their head volleyball coach.
Yeah. As we were talking earlier, when I'm not working, one of my favorite passions is to coach, and I've been coaching for about 15 years, both on the club level, and I coached for high school when I was on the west side. And so as I was preparing for retirement, one of my advisors said, make a list of things that you'd like to do post-retirement, and I wrote at the top of the list, get back into head coaching or coaching a volleyball high school program, and the Eastmont program position came available. So I'm super excited to go over there and help out with that program. They've got a really great young group coming up that I think is going to be strong. We have, of course, our neighbor, the Wenatchee Panthers, who won state. I'm great friends with the coach there and have coached many of those kids in that program. So the volleyball in the valley is it's one big family, but then they go to respective schools and compete, and so we hope to be able to sort of keep up with Wenatchee, because they are, I think, fully loaded to make another run for state this year. But I'm looking forward to this young group that's coming up in Eastmont. I think they're going to be really competitive and do well in the Big Nine over this next few years. So.
Well, other things you see for yourself, Rob, in retirement, you have other pursuits as well.
Yeah, so as we were mentioned earlier, I sit on the board for Common Ground, which is a housing trust, and it's one of the sort of front and center means of providing affordable housing for people throughout the U.S. And so we're really excited to kick off a project here in Wenatchee this year. We're going to be building some cottages on 9th Street, just directly west of Sangster Motors. And so Tom Nees, our executive director, has picked up the permits on that to start grading. And so you'll start to see some action out on that site this year. And we hope to have, I think, homes ready to deliver sometime next year, so 2025. So it's pretty exciting. As we know, affordable housing is a major issue throughout the U.S. and in the state of Washington. And so I'm looking forward just to being part of that. Because of my background when I was on the West Side and being in charge of engineering development review, I have a real sort of a passion for that and helping people navigate that process. And so I'm looking forward to helping out Common Ground with that.
Sounds like you're leaving one kind of public works for another.
Hopefully, yeah.
Rob Jammerman with the City of Wenatchee, retiring as the Public Works Director. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're watching the NCWLIFE channel.